Hey guys, wanted to give a rundown of the tournament from this past weekend. It was just a local 3-game, 1-day tournament at a local shop here, Texas Toy Soldiers in Dallas. So we wanted to give some rundown of that. It is basically a practice round we had some people that are going down to the Austin tournament here in a few weeks and wanted to give some practice lists a run. We kind of used their pack as well and the battle plans from that, scoring from that, just to get a couple practice rounds in. Here's the ending results for that. We had a Iron Jaws come in number 1, followed by Nighthaunt and Legion of Grief, and then Slanesh came in at 4, and then we had some more chaos. And you see me down there at number 9, hey, top 10, right? Out of 19. Yeah. But we had me at number 9, and then number 10 was another Seraphon player. He was running double Shadow Strike. That number 6, Adam Groh, he was also Seraphon. He was running the Draco's Tail, so he can get everybody in real close turn 1. And that comes with Shadow Strike as well. So Shadow Strike seemed to be popular this weekend, which always makes our opponents happy when we drop those rippers down 3 inches away. We can take a look at my list real quick. I took a Salon with Great Remember, so we get those 2 teleports. I gave him some Mortal Wound saves with Ignite Scales and the spells to kind of hit heroes. Meteoric Convocation. That one's the one where you roll 8 dice and 5 ups for mortals, so it's kind of for hitting those squishier heroes. This one I wanted to try 3 engines just to kind of test it and see how it did. I don't think I'm going to take this list down to Austin. I did when it worked well. I think it worked really well. But there was a couple games. Well, one of the games you'll see here where they failed every time. Which, if you play with engines a lot, you know they can do that. They can be amazing, or they can really disappoint you sometimes when you need them. I also took Astrolith Bear. Gave him Incandescent Retrosis, just something in case he gets sniped, taken out early. And Star Priest there, part of the Shadow Strike Battalion. Gave him the Stellar Tempest, so he can hit some hordes with that spell. That's a really nice spell there. My 3 battle line units of Skinks, the 6 Rippers, come down in Shadow Strike. And then I threw in Geminids and the Purple Sun. The Purple Sun, I've really liked it now. It's good at hitting hordes, and it's actually good at taking out some elite elite units, like if you're going up against Fire Slayers or something you don't really want to touch with combat, you can put this on them and at least start whittling them away. Or sometimes you can get lucky and roll a couple 6s and they're gone. So that's nice. So that was my list I took. We'll go through the games now. So game 1, I was matched up against Goat. Poor guy only has 1 name. Not sure what his real name is. Everybody calls him Goat. He was playing Slanesh, and so this is my first time to ever play Slanesh. Got to see all the tricks that it has up its sleeve. He played the battalion. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it has all the Seekers or Striders in it, the cavalry units that look kind of like anteaters, and they can all pile in 6 inches, which means they don't have to be in combat to activate and hit you. They also have a lot of tricks in the activation wars. So this one we're playing Scorched Earth, a lot of objectives, and his army's super fast. My army can teleport all over the place. Luckily, a lot of his stuff can't fly, so if I can screen effectively, then maybe I can pull this one out. But I knew I wasn't going to be able to do anything in combat. And so this list doesn't have a ton of shooting. Most of its stopping power comes from the spells and the rippers. Against a heavily elite army, I need to screen and chafe them up real good. But these guys are so fast, I didn't really think that was going to happen very well in this one, especially with this many objectives. Scorched Earth in the new edition, you do have your 4 objectives on each side, and you're playing the strange deployment there. But it's an interesting one. It really forces you to kind of spread your stuff out. You can't start scoring until turn 2, which that's a good improvement from the previous edition. So you've got to really shore up your own and then try to make an attack in that turn 2. So we started off, and I'll throw the score up here just so I can remember exactly what all happened. I did go first, and I threw out a kind of what my strategy is here is I was getting my Slan in range to throw some spells. So I got my Slan right about in there, and was trying to hit this core unit here. I was outside of range of his unbinds from something that does damage back to me if I get unbound. I don't know exactly what it was. Um, my spells didn't really go off. I got one off from the Salon that did a couple mortals, but I didn't get the Purple Sun, which I was really hoping to just kind of throw out there and start disrupting stuff. And so then I teleported the Salon back behind this building here to safety. You can see my 3 engines here. I did on this turn. I did get an extra summons of Rippers here, and then another set of Rippers here. And this engine didn't really do anything. I was intending to hopefully get some summons out of here so I could capture this, but I wanted to keep him in range of the Slon to keep his buff up. Unfortunately, that didn't work, so I wasn't in range to capture my objective turn 1. So it does say I scored 4, so maybe I probably just moved something over there, I guess, to score it. I think that's what it was. I brought down my Rippers. You can't really see him here, but he had 1 unit of those Striders back here on his objective. And really, that was the only target I could hit with those Rippers, because if I hit any of this frontline stuff, he's going to make me fight last, which would just, the Rippers would evaporate. And so I just took out one of his units here, hoping to create pressure back here on his back objective, so that he'd at least have to turn something around and head back there and distract him for a turn. That was my plan. Also, this unit over here is also as well, hoping to just put some stuff on some pressure on his back line, because otherwise he's going to bring all these real fast guys that all fight first down straight to my lines. They're going to pile in 6 inches, which means they're going to get to, if one of them destroys those, they're probably going to get to the Rippers as well. Those pile-ins are going to be nasty. So that was the objective there. This is after his. This looks like it was probably after his first turn. He's bringing this chariot down here, which does quite a bit of wounds. I think he took out most of those skinks. Oh, this little spell here, the hand with the mirror on it, whatever that's called, deleted my banner and my skink priest, just like that. Did a lot of wounds there. And then he's bringing the keeper in to try to get to those Rippers, so he can attack them before my next turn. These guys as well. And everything's coming this way. He sent a unit of those anteater things that way. And then he eventually, I think he brought another one down from somewhere. So he had 2 of them outside the Rippers. And because they can pile in 6, basically the Rippers didn't get to attack. The Striders, 1 unit hit the Rippers first, killed about half of them. I attacked back at that point. I finally could, and I think I killed them. But then the other unit wiped out the rest of them, something like that. That 6-inch pile-in is so useful for those things. They're so fast that they can get anywhere, and they can pile in 6 even if they're not in combat. So it makes for some goofy activation stuff. Yeah, you can see that war going on back there with the Rippers. Chariot obviously deleted my skinks here. We're getting rid of my screens that I had. Getting rid of those. This may have been during his second turn, maybe, because it looks like a lot of my stuff is disappearing there. So I guess I did. Hopefully, I'm about to go again here. My turn. Yeah, you can see I've brought out some more skinks. At this point, I'm summoning all skinks because I've just got to try to keep him off of the objectives. In the second turn, since I did get to go first, I was able to burn this one with 2 skinks on it. And then you can see I teleported some skinks onto his very back objective and had just enough in range to burn that one. So I was able to get, and I rolled 5s and 6s on those because it's D3. So that got me 6 points plus my 4 that I was still holding. So I was able to pull out 10 points. So at that point, I felt good. 14-3. But I hadn't quite seen how fast his stuff was. We'll see if this next Yeah, his chariot's coming in. His keeper's coming in. And his keeper had enough range that he could hit over the top of the skinks and hit that engine, which was already hurt a little bit from mortals or something. But he clears these units of skinks and those skinks there, and I think it was on this double turn here where the game was pretty much just over at that point. Because, yeah, here it was before the double turn, before he charged and went to combat. So he cleared the engine. He cleared the engine that was over here, the one here, and then all my screens. So this guy came in and took him out. Those chariots are nasty. He wasn't able to get this one, I think, this turn. I was still holding that one. And he took the keeper that way, which I understand trying to kill the Slan. I don't think he was too worried at points at this time. But he could have easily just taken this keeper over here and made it to where I couldn't score that on my turn. But then on my turn, I was able to take this one. I may have been able to burn another one of his or something. I think I did some other. That may have been the last picture we had. I may have been able to burn another one or something. But it came down to it. I was out of units. I think I may have had like 5 skinks left at the end, and just not enough power to remove some striders or something he had holding his objectives. So there wasn't any way I was going to be able to burn him. So we called it there at the end of the game. It was closer. I mean, 3 points difference. And my last turn we didn't play. That makes it sound close, but he had forgotten to summon his depravity points all game. So he had something like 50 or 60 depravity points he could have summoned with. And so this game would not have even been anywhere close to that if his depravity points had been summoned into something useful for him. So, hey, I appreciate him forgetting to summon so that, us tier 2 armies could have a chance. But so that's just fun. Man, they're quick. They got lots of hijinks for the activation wars. So good game. Scorched Earth is an interesting one. You gotta have movement for Scorched Earth, definitely. So game 2, we played Duality of Death, which has the new deployment rules where you've got to line up in these tiny little squares here on each side of the board. So you've got to split your army into 2 basically and try to take the objectives. Now these ones you score more points the longer you hold it. And so the longer you can hold one, and it's got to be a hero or a battle line. So this one is kind of tough because I don't really ever want to try to hold an objective all game with skinks because they'll get evaporated. So in this list, I'm going to be trying to hold it with an Engine of the Gods, or maybe try to sneak one with some skinks at some point to take it away. My opponent, though, I lined up against a guy named Tanner, nice guy. We had a lot of fun here, and he was bringing Nurgle. He had a thrice-fold befoulment, so he had 3 greater uncleans, or 2 greater unclean ones in Radagast, and then I think it was something like 90 plague bears. So probably when he saw that he was playing Seraphon, he was thinking, oh, good, shooting, because plague bears are awesome against shooting. They have -2 to shooting. So if I had brought Thunderquake or something, I would have been in huge trouble. But that wasn't exactly how it worked out. As we were dropping, as with a lot of games, sometimes you win or lose in deployment. And I start trying to put some stuff down here, but at some point he drops a greater unclean one here, and I know he has to keep those 3 greater unclean ones together. And so at that point, I drop all 3 engines over here. Slan, and some skinks. Enough skinks over there. I did keep a unit of skinks over here, and then my priest in the banner, because I know I want to cast spells onto his main force up in that upper right corner. So at this point, we know that I'm coming up to this objective, and he's coming down to this one. So that's kind of the plan. We know what we're doing. It's just going to be a matter of, can somebody steal it from the other person and pick up a point along the way somewhere. You kind of see our deployment here. You know, here's my main group, and then you can see all those plague bears back there. His main group with his 3 giant greater unclean ones. 2 objectives here. So I've got my banner here, so I know that I can, if I can teleport my Slann somewhere right in here, cast some spells, and I can hit these 2 hordes with the Purple Sun. Hit them with my spell from the Skink Priest, because if there's anything that this list does, it'll take out hordes big time. And so he takes first turn, which, hey, that's good for me. In this list, I can either go first or second. It doesn't really matter to me. If I go second, you know, it's just easier to hit with my spells. If I go first, I've kind of designed it to where I can hit you wherever you're at with my spells and with the Rippers. He does run the Plague Bears, but it doesn't quite get far enough. And I think we just kind of forgot that it was 3 inches. You have to be within 3 inches to score these objectives, not 6. And so he got them close enough to the objective, but not within 3. Once we went to scoring it, we realized that it was 3, and these guys hadn't quite made it all the way up there. They were kind of in a big semicircle right here, and just outside of 3. And it was because of this terrain. He was having to run around it, and they just don't move all that fast. Doesn't look like it's that far, but with the run, it just wasn't quite enough. So on my turn, we'll see what pictures we got here. Well, that's after the fact. We'll go back to this one. So his horde is up here, and I get my Slann right here, and I cast Purple Sun right into both hordes of Plague Bearers. And so I'm rolling 60 dice, and 6s, the model is slain, which is so nice against units like that have mortal saves. If it's just a mortal, he's going to save, you know, a third of them. But when they're just slain, that just takes a huge chunk of them out. And then I hit him with the horde busting spell from the Slann or the Skink Priest, and that takes even more of them out. And then I think it was this wing here I was able to bring the Rippers all into, and basically just delete those as well. So he lost a lot of Plague Bearers on this one. He still had a couple right around here. But since they weren't scoring, I was just able to run some skinks right up into here and steal his objective. So at that point, I'm 1 point ahead than what I know he's going to be. Even if he gets a turn, I've got 1 point on him. He's going to take it back, obviously. He's got too many Plague Bears. But I'm 1 point up. And in this game right here, if you can get 1 point up, you pretty much have the win. Because if you can just fortify one of the objectives, you're good to go. I did run all this stuff up to here and just created more screens here, summoned skinks in. Just my plan is just to make it as hard as possible for him to get back over here. Since he doesn't fly, it's gonna be quite difficult. This one unit of Plague Bearers here, we worked them a couple times, but they were gone after a turn or two. But by the end of how about the score card? So. He did go first. I went second. I got 2 points, and then I got the double, which at that point, when I got the double, it was just we almost handshaked there and called it game because that was going to give me another 2 points. So I was going to be 3 points up, no matter how long he could score his objective. I was going to be 3 points ahead of him the rest of the game, and so. Because he's worked cumulatively and he's not going to start his cumulative build until this turn, he's already a couple points behind me. But with my spells and the Rippers, I was able to clear out the rest of the Plague Bearers. So 2 turns, took out about 70 Plague Bearers. Not too shabby. I would say the spell lore for Seraphon has been a success. Because that's something, Plague Bearers are something that would give Seraphon headaches before this. Before they got a spell lore, our best way to remove something like that would be shooting, and you're not going to remove Plague Bearers. So those new spells that we've gotten are pretty awesome. So that's probably the end of my turn there. I've deleted the rest of the Plague Bearers. I've summoned in some more Rippers here. That's always fun. We got some more skinks. We still got some skinks over here protecting these guys just in case he decides something funny. But at this point, we really were just playing for make sure we got our secondaries and hidden agendas and things like that, because it was just the greater unclean ones was basically all that was left. Oh, and a couple little Nurglings here. We did have some good laughs on the greater unclean ones as they came in and had their way with these guys. He definitely took back his objective. There was once those greater unclean ones got on it, there was no way I was going to be able to get them back off, especially 3 of them. But at this point, it didn't really matter. There were a couple times that were pretty funny where like one skink would stay alive versus a greater unclean one, and it was one of those days. None of his spells were working, even at this late stage. He was practicing with them. I don't think he's taken this army all that often. He's normally an Ironjawz player, and so he was getting used to the army, and a lot of his spells just were not working. It was bad, but sometimes you have those games. He was a good sport about it. We did have fun. Some more pictures of Rippers getting some fleshy greater unclean ones there. Good game. It was. I think it really came down to that run, not getting the plague bearers in that first turn. That just kind of opened up a hole for my skinks to score that first turn. Of course, the spells, man, getting those 2 spells off turn 1 and then the Rippers, that's a hard combo to absorb if you've got hordes. Much as you'll see in the next game as well. My third game, I got to play against Justin and his Nighthaunt army. He had a black coach. It was like 50 or 60 of the Grimghast Reapers, a group of Chainghast, Lady Olander, and a couple of little foot heroes or something. But I saw those hordes, and I knew that that's what I needed to focus on first, because those Grimghast Reapers, they can be a pain to deal with if they get all up in your units. So I was hoping he was going to put both of them down on the table. Why would he? But he only put one. He did leave one in the graveyard, or whatever it's called for Nighthaunt. We were playing on Starstrike. So the new Starstrike has 12 zones, which have no measurements on the on the battle card for you. So it's always fun to try to figure out what that is, where you're supposed to put them. So you roll at the end of turn 1, you roll a dice and see where it comes out in the middle, and then at the end of turn 2, you roll it for each of your sides to see where the star hits and the objective comes down. In this one, even before, I would always tend to just favor, stay on 2/3 of the board. Just take your chances that it's coming down over there. Seraphon has enough mobility. If it's not over there, you can just start teleporting stuff as you need it to wherever it's at. And so I did that. I kind of focused just on the right-hand side. You can kind of see a little bit of deployment here, if I can pull it up. This is actually a little into turn 1. But you can see I put 2 engines here, an engine over here with this banner, and my priest. I try to measure out that priest versus, or the banner versus the whatever his closest horde is, as I want to be able to pop off my objectives where I need them to. He did put most of his forces kind of in the same way, just kind of in this bubble right here. A little bit more towards the middle, but favoring that left-hand side towards that black coach. I knew that when he put down that horde, that's what I'm going to focus on first. That's what my army's good at doing, is killing hordes. And so I'm going to take out that Grimghast Reaper horde and try to force him to bring on the other one to capture his own objective, maybe, and then maybe not get flanked. That's what the hope was. It actually turned into a really close game. You can see the score here. By the end of it, we didn't quite get to finish it, and it really came down to the last turn. Who rolled off was going to be the winner, but we'll get to that here in a minute. I did get first turn. I think I may have taken first turn. I think he had more drops than me, and I did pull in my Rippers. I got the sun off. I think we have a little bit better picture from his angle here. Yeah, there we go. You can see the sun hit this unit of Chain Rasp, and then this unit of Grimghast. And it's always fun when you tell them, I'm going to roll a 6, or I'm going to roll 30 dice, and on a 6, it's slain. Usually people forget that it's not mortals because they have mortal saves. They're slain. So that's always fun. So I hit him with the sun, hit him with the spell, the horde killing spell that killed off quite a few of them, and then brought the rippers in, and it killed almost all of them except one. We left one alive, which means, you know, the way those guys come back, they as long as they're alive, they can keep regenerating. And once you kill it, as long as Nagash isn't on the table, they're not coming back. So leaving one on the table was pretty much the worst thing I could do, but we do end up eventually taking care of him. It was a pretty brutal blow. Luckily, I mean, he seemed pretty good about it. I think he knew he still had options. He still had some chain rasps and the Grimghast Reapers in the horde or in the graveyard, and so he still had some options. And this game is really, I mean, you've got to wait until basically turn 3 to figure out where you're going to be scoring your objectives at. So, turn 2. So you can see in his turn, he did take out most of my Rippers, but enough survived that they were able to take out the rest of the Grimghast Reapers. So I was finally able to finish him off in his turn, so that was good. He moved the Black Coach in to take on the Rippers, but because he attacked with something else first, or on the charge they did some damage, and I was able to pull Rippers off to where he wasn't in combat anymore. So that actually kind of probably saved the Rippers there at the end. The objective came down right here, and I got the priority in turn 2. And so I moved my stuff up and just started summoning skinks in just to protect that objective as best I could. This guy's just kind of protecting my flank to see if hopefully the Starstrike would hit somewhere in here. Statistically, it should be somewhere in the middle of the board, just because you're rolling 2 dice now for where it's going to fall. But I mean, you know how dice are. I was protecting my pack line here, and I let a little bit too much space back here. I think I was hoping one of these would summon in another one, or I could get some more summons from the Salon. And I don't think it worked out. I used my spells for something, or maybe the engines failed. Oh no, this game. This is the game that turn 1 and 2, every single engine failed. I summoned nothing. And I was even like being cheeky about it. Like I would teleport the Salon over here to do his spells, and while he was over here, roll this engine. So I was getting 4 dice on each of them, but I didn't get a single summons out of 6 rolls for the engines. 2 turns, no summons. And so when that happens, my battle plan kind of went out the window because I knew he could bring in stuff behind me 9 inches away, and I was wanting to avoid that, but I just didn't have enough. I didn't have enough bodies out there for that to happen. So his turn. Oh, he brings in, Banshees is what he had. He had those in the graveyard. 12 Banshees. Those things are disgusting. They can do a ton of damage. Luckily, I have high bravery, 10 bravery, so their screaming stuff doesn't hurt as much. But they can still, once they get amped up from the spells and stuff like that, they can go nuts. But they're coming in. This way, we're just gonna have to sacrifice some skinks because I don't want to weary fighter the skinks back and give any ground to him. All right, so in his turn, he was able to get the Banshees onto this one and score that one, and he got the double here. From round 2 to 3, when the Starstrike fell on both of our sides, he got the double here, which really hurt because I hadn't had enough summons to keep him out of my backfield, and you can see where. Well, you may not be able to see it too well. One came down here. Another one came down right back here. Let me see if I can move this a little bit so you can see it. But yeah, you can see that objective there. It came down right behind where my skinks were at, that's not bad. That's where I wanted it. So my bet paid off on it coming down on my side. And his came down over here in the mountain where he really didn't have anything. He had this one hero over here. So I like this. If that turn had gone my way, I would have gotten them all. But since he got the turn here, he was already bringing in this big guy and the Banshees. So yeah, he got that turn from 2 to 3. Now he's got this this chest coming out here, which did some mortals or something. It was building up power. I can't remember. I think I moved it later on out of there. But he did make one slight error in that he kept this hero a little too far away from that objective, just thinking he had it there, and I guess he forgot about my teleports. So on my turn, oh, we probably got, oh yeah, here's his nice horde of Grimghast Reapers that he had in the graveyard came up, and they're the ones that captured that objective. Obviously, they killed the skinks, and I was glad he didn't pile in over the skinks. I think he just didn't want to bring in the engines, which is probably smart. They have a quantity of attack that can spike pretty hard with the stomps, and if he would have brought both of them in, maybe I could have cleared some more amount. But he kept them there, so he was able to score. He was able to score those. I think, oh, here's why he didn't score the middle one. Because I was able to bring in enough skinks on a retreat, maybe? I can't quite remember why he didn't get the other one in turn 3. I think I had enough skinks. I was able to sneak some back from a weary fighter or something. Maybe it had been on this one. Maybe I weary fighted those guys back out. But I got enough skinks in there through some shenanigans that I was able to keep him from getting all 3 at least. I don't quite remember how that happened. Yeah, you can see some more skinks piling up there. So this was probably my turn. Yeah, you can see that I've got skinks here. I don't think... trying to remember exactly what happened here. On my turn, I got some skinks over here teleported in, and they were actually within range of his objective to be able to score that one. I must have just not had enough skinks here in the middle. I don't know why I didn't get that one in round 3. I'm trying to remember. Maybe I was just finally still dealing with these guys. Maybe I didn't clear them off completely. But it looks like round 4 I finally did get them cleared off. And got all 3 of them scored round 4. Yeah, I got all 3 of them scored in round 4 when I got the double. That was probably for me just sitting on these and sitting on this one, not moving, and then clearing off the rest of that horde. It's probably what that was about. I think this is how we ended the game. I believe that's the last picture, yeah. So at the end of the game, it came down. You can see there at the end of round 4, after his turn, he was able to take 2 back from me. And he brought in a bunch of... that may have been what that last picture was. He brought in some chain rasp, and I think was able to take that unit there, that objective there, by killing this one maybe. I think he finally got rid of that engine. And so at the end of the game... it was basically, this is basically how it was going to be set up. So his turn, he still had some chain rasps here, and they're not there for some reason. I'm not exactly sure. Maybe we were already packing up at this point or something. But maybe this was before he brought in the chain rasps, because I still see this one has some wounds on it. So maybe I just didn't get a picture at the very end of the game. But it came down to we were out of time, and it was basically whoever was going to take the roll at round 5 was going to win this game, because if he got it, he had enough bodies to kill off that engine and then keep the other one out of combat, and he was going to capture all 5 or all 3 for 15 points. Because I had these skinks up here, but maybe there was only maybe 3 left at that point. We don't have a picture for that, and these rippers weren't being able to move. But if I got the turn, I could have easily moved this engine over here to take them out, cast some spells. There, the chain gas that were right there. Could have sat on this one, brought the rippers in here, and I would have scored 15 points. He may have been able to take back 1, maybe probably this middle one, but it just wouldn't have been enough. So the whole game came down to that very last roll-off. He got it. Would have scored 15 points. I would have on my turn, I would have wiped these guys out and scored 10. And so we came to a gentleman's agreement. He won by 1 point after talking it through. Great game. We were both strategizing real hard during this one. We had lots of movement, lots of stuff teleporting in and flanking and movement all over. We pretty much never touched that left side of the board, the entire game was played over here with those 3 objectives, 1, 2, and then 3 right there. And that was where the entire thing was played at. But real good game. He finished the tournament second, so he was a real good player, and we had a fun time. It was a very strategic game that came down to 1 point. So you can't ask for more than that. It was fun. Overall, great tournament. I am going to do a few tweaks on my list. The 3 engines, while a lot of fun, I really enjoy the Engines of Gods. They're a little bit too streaky. I think I may reduce one of them, kind of change. I'll probably still run 2, but probably change the list up a little bit. I really do like my Alpha Strike, especially against hordes. It can do some major damage. So we'll see how it does. We've got another couple tournaments coming up in a few weeks, so we'll make sure and do some bat reports on those. Thanks for watching, guys.